taco, of course, when it's lunchtime, they brought a few friends with them for lunch. So it was such a huge success for them. And of course, this is one taco truck. It's small scale, but still. I think it kind of demonstrates what the potential is for really moving foot traffic. So they wouldn't let us pay them as much as we wanted to. But I thought that was pretty interesting. And then another interesting example of this kind of idea of using deals to move foot traffic is the promotion that we did with the New Jersey Nets, the NBA team, which is actually, if I understand correctly, the worst NBA team in the league. And it was an interesting promotion, though, because I presume, I'm not a sports guy, so I can't speak to this by fact, but I presume that because they're the worst team in the league, they're kind of having a hard time filling up the stadium on a lot of game days. So they wanted to partner with us and figure out a way that they could give away tickets and hopefully just fill up more seats. So that's what we did. We hooked it up so that you could win. There was an odds-based thing. You would win tickets if you checked in at a sporting goods store or something in New Jersey, and gave away a couple hundred tickets. And a substantial percentage of those people came to the game on the middle of a Monday night. And I'd say it was a pretty significant success, because we were able to reach out to people where they were. We could tell based on their kind of behavior of what kind of places they checked in at that they were a potential person who'd be interested in this. And then we were able to serve the needs of the Nets by kind of filling out some seats, selling a bunch of extra concessions and stuff like that. So the kind of big picture point I want to make here is that I think, at the risk of being too grandiose, proximity marketing is the new intention marketing. So you've heard the phrase intention marketing, right? Google AdWords. When you search for something, it's obvious that that's what you're looking for, so it's the perfect time for an advertiser to present their message. I think proximity marketing is, that times 10. When you know that someone is standing right there, especially if what you're trying to market is a local service, what better time to reach out to someone and give them, the message that you want to convey. So that was number one, deals. Number two is service. This gets a little bit more abstract and I think a little bit more interesting. Because what this boils down to is data. So it's one thing to give away freebies in order to get people in your business. I think that has that's compelling, but maybe it's not for everyone, or it only depends on your type of business. But service is something that we can all agree, I think, applies almost no matter what your business or organization is. So what a tool like Gowalla or location-based social networks can provide is data. So when you are able to look at, I think I've got it here. Yeah, so this is like the top 10 list for people who checked in at BJ's restaurant in, I don't know where it is, Cupertino. So the manager of this restaurant can easily see who his most significant or his most regular visitors are in the last month, and then reach out to them. You can communicate with them, reply them on Twitter. And this is, I think, especially relevant when you talk about upmarket kind of brands or local businesses. So for instance, I talked to a manager of a restaurant once, really nice steakhouse. I was demoing Gowalla to him and asking him how he might use it in his business. And he said, well, I'll tell you right off the bat that coupons or deals are not something that I'm interested in at all, right? This is a very fancy establishment and I'm not going to give $5 off or something because it cheapens the brand. But what I absolutely do want is to get an email on my BlackBerry the minute that a loyal customer checks in, so that I can go out to their table, shake their hand, comp their wine, stuff like that. So I think it's pretty obvious how you could take that kind of desire, that kind of need, and apply that toward even non-local businesses, right? So when people check in at various places, the ability to know who they are, know what their interests are, and reach out to them is really powerful stuff. So that's service, which I think is the second significant way that businesses can use services like this. And the third is, I think, the most interesting, but perhaps the most long-term. And that's this general concept of presence and branding. So here's an example, for instance. A friend of mine, Phil, who's actually in the audience there, checked in the other day at Schlotzsky's and posted about his experience, posted it to his Facebook wall, and started, a little mini conversation with some of his friends about it, like, oh yeah, I love that place too. How valuable is this kind of a thing to Schlotzsky's? It's kind of hard to measure, right? I mean, they don't know that he published it. They don't know how many friends of his commented on it, what the kind of sentiment they expressed was. But it's indisputable that that is really valuable, right? It's word of mouth, but even more so because it's word of foot. It really shows that he was there and presumably had a good experience. Of course, you can gripe too, but most people, you know, are just interacting around brands that they like. So how much more valuable then is it if a brand can actually express their identity and their values through visuals in the service? So it's one thing to have like the generic sandwich icon like Schlotzsky's has right now. But how much cooler is it if, like Chipotle has done with us, they put their icon with their colors right on the web page, on the spot page, on your phone, so that they're actually able to communicate their brand values directly in kind of the world that their users live. And then last, this is the most intriguing and maybe controversial aspect of what's possible with some of this present stuff. But what would it look like if you not only presented yourself directly, you know, at the restaurants that you own or something, but what if you could kind of infiltrate your competitors' space, you know? This is something that we haven't explored too much yet, but I think it's one of those things that's going to become more and more prevalent with location-based technology. So what if, to pick an example, you know, Lowe's said, we want to own every Home Depot location in America, so that when you check in at Home Depot, we give you a message sponsored by Lowe's, right? It says we'll match their prices or something like that. We've not talked to Lowe's or Home Depot, I should say, so it's entirely speculative. But this one is actually a little bit less competitive, but I think interesting. We did a partnership in December with Incase, who's a manufacturer of these backpacks and iPhone cases and stuff like that. And they wanted to advertise their stuff at Apple stores. But of course, Apple stores are this pristine environment.